Do you know what makes you special? Follow and subscribe to the special Fallout series show now so you can find out. And enjoy the following episode of the special Fallout series show. Welcome back to another episode of this special Fallout series show. All right, and we are still getting to these instant reactions. I'm your host, Mikey. By the way, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 7, The Radio, my instant reaction to this episode. And what an episode it was. Again, this is the penultimate episode for this season, only 8 episodes in this season. And just like you would expect from any great TV series, the penultimate episode for the season is usually one of the very best episodes of that season. And I would say that is definitely the case for this one. Out of all the 7 episodes I've watched so far, this is very good because we're getting close to the end of the season, so you really got to be focusing on plot and moving things along, and that's what they do. And it made for a really good episode. I mean, and just like any great episode of Fallout, there's a big, huge contrast of tones throughout this, and they're just nailing them from the very beginning. I mean, in the very beginning of this one, we see Eric Estrada playing a character called Adam in this, and he's out with his son Tommy, played by Charlie Besso. Okay, and they're out collecting metal and lead. They come back home to find the ghoul Cooper just sitting there waiting, eating food at a table. And well, he's a ghoul. So turns out Eric Estrada's character here, Adam, he's got a daughter, and he is wondering if the ghoul is sitting at their dinner table having a plate of dinner. He is wondering if this is his daughter, and the ghoul just kind of uses that against him, right? And he's looking for information for where Lee Moldaver is, and he gets it eventually. And boy, turns out the ghoul killed one of his other sons, Tommy's older brother. And this is where we see just how cruel the ghoul is. As much as I want to like the ghoul at times he is just like the ultimate bad guy that you can't root for and get behind, because he starts talking about killing Tommy's older brother. And he basically ends up deciding, he can't let Tommy go because Tommy's going to come back for him again one day. Tommy does try to make a move right here, and the ghoul finishes him off, just blasts him. And it was like, man, cold. And we see, because we do see a contrast throughout this season, and we've been seeing it more lately, that the ghoul, when he was Cooper Howard, at one point he did have morals and standards, but living in the wastelands and living 219 years in general has changed this man for the worse. He's had to adapt to this new world, and it's like they said in the previous episode, where the audience wants to see that he can go down dark path, and we have definitely seen Cooper Howard, the great guy with morals and standards and all that, and we've seen how far he's come to survive. It's not a good place. right after uh, this scene on the farm, we do see Cooper in the past meeting Lee Moldaver for the first time at one of her meetings, and uh, she reveals she knows his wife, and he's curious. He wants to know more, and uh, you know, where it seemed like at first, where it's like, okay, he's definitely going to be out of here. Uh, once he knows that Moldaver knows his wife, then he becomes more intrigued, and he's going to try to find out more. Uh, the next part was hilarious with Lucy. She is getting her sentence uh, for all the violence and chaos that she caused in the previous episode, where she kind of finds out, like, oh, everybody living here who is an original vault dweller in this vault is, been some part of of experiment, right? And she explains to them, well, my vault's not like that, and they ask her what the experiment in her vault is, and she says there isn't one. And I just don't know about that. I have a feeling there's going to be something. There's just too much stuff going on over there with 31, 32, and 33 that for me to believe that there's no experiment. There's some sort of experiment, and she's just not aware of it. Let's see. I mean, and it was a whole funny thing where they decide, her punishment is that they're going to let her go. They're going to give her 2 weeks of supplies, and then of course Maximus shows up after it's already been revealed that she's going to be let go. He comes in here all violent, and then realizes, like, oh, they're letting us go. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Thaddeus, we're feeling how bad Thaddeus is. Uh, you know, I mean, to me, it was clear that he was being bad. I mean, he puts the dog in the refrigerator or the freezer, and he's just gonna take off and leave the dog there. So obviously, a horrible guy. Um, we did see another change in the character as well, for the better. Maximus, uh, taking the fusion core for the power armor when he thought he needed it to save Lucy. They leave with it, but then Lucy's able to eventually talk him down and say, hey, we need to give that back to the vault dwellers, because without it, they're not going to survive. And then he reluctantly agrees, but he agrees. So, I mean, he does make a move for the better. We see Thaddeus more, and oh my goodness, this this scene with this snake oil man and the broken foot and getting the medicine. This was all hilarious and gruesome and gross and yeah, funny, and you know it had all the emotions rolled into one in this like short little scene of Thaddeus going to the snake oil man and getting some medicine that turns out to not just be snake oil, but actually works completely. His like mangled up foot is completely healed in a matter of moments. And then we jump back to the vault, and everybody's kind of on edge. The raiders have all been killed. Somebody poisoned their food. They're all dead now. And then, of course, Norm is wondering what's going on with this. And the other thing that's putting everybody's on edge is that everybody in the vault is going to get their new assignment today. What vault are they going to be put into? Some are going to go to 32, some are going to go to 33. And yeah, so everybody's kind of on edge here. After that, we did jump back to Cooper back in the past. At first, he's thinking he's not going to spy on his wife. He's not going to use this little radio that Moldaver gave him to spy on his wife. We even see him throw the thing out in the garbage, but then he goes back and digs it up because he figures, oh well, I'm just going to hear for myself what's going on. And then back to Thaddeus. He has limped his way to a radio tower so he can call the Brotherhood. And here we just get this hilarious scene where he gets shot through the throat with an arrow. That was a booby trap set up by the guy working at the radio tower. And he somehow survives. And he doesn't even understand how until Maximus says, "I think you're a ghoul." And then Thaddeus realizes, "Oh, why did I even trust a doctor that smells the way that he does?" But he did, and now he's freaking out. He's like, "Oh no, I got to get out of here. If the Brotherhood find out, they're gonna kill me." So Maximus offers to take the head and let Thaddeus run. And then we got a kiss here between Lucy and Maximus. Now, this part I will say did feel rushed. Again, maybe this was a product of this season only being 8 episodes instead of like a 10 episode season. It felt their relationship felt like it was forced a little bit too fast to me. But you know, two great main characters, and you're happy to see them. You know, two characters. You know, in this world, find some sort of hope and happiness in their lives. So, you know, I'm glad it's working. I'm glad they found each other for now. You know, I want these characters to be happy. Okay, and then yeah, so they share the kiss, and then Thaddeus takes off, and Maximus tells Lucy to go, and then he will eventually find her, so she goes, and then we cut back to the vault where what's her name? Stephanie Harper. One of the other, you know, and this has been the whole thing for Norm. Why are all the people from Vault 31 being named Overseer? So now they're doing the split where some are going to stay in 33, others are going to 32, and they name an interim overseer. It just so happens to be Stephanie Harper, who is also from Vault 31. I don't know about that. Something seems very, very fishy. And you see the look on Norm's face, and he shares the look with his cousin Chet, who also is, you know, he could tell he's feeling it, but he's got to go where his family is. So he's just going along with what's being done here, and they get sent to Vault 32. And then Norm, oh my goodness, he gets real curious. He heads on over to the overseer office and gets on the computer, and he starts communicating with somebody, and he's pretending to be Betty, and he's saying that the experiment, or what did he say, that basically the problem is the experiment is compromised. So whoever's on the other side of this line is telling him, "You got to come here now. You got to come for safety, and you got to come immediately." So, of course, Norm goes, and we don't see what he sees, but I'm worried, and one of my big worries is that, whoever was on the other side of that line knew it wasn't Betty. Maybe perhaps there's like some sort of code word or code that you got to enter. I don't know. All I know is it did something seemed off about them saying like, "Oh, you need to come immediately." Uh, it makes me think that whoever's on the other side knows that it's not Betty, and they are going to harm whoever it is. We know it's Norm, but when they find out who it is, they're going to harm him because they don't want them messing with. They don't want Norm messing with the experiment. So again, another great cliffhanger of an ending for an episode. Again, I just wish this was weekly so bad. But let me know what you thought of this episode. I thought this was really a great episode. I love seeing Fred Armisen's character at the tower. Yeah, just all the acting was good. The all the coloring, uh, videography, everything is still on point. And I mean, you can tell they spent a lot of money on this thing, so you wouldn't expect any less. But that is going to be the episode. I want to know, what did you think of this episode? How were you feeling about that relationship between Lucy and Maximus? Does it work for you? I think they could get there for me, but they're not there yet. It just felt a little bit too sudden. But since we know that we're getting a season 2, hopefully we will get to see some more of that and see their relationship actually grow into something where it's believable that these characters would be together and be attracted together, or to each other. So let me know how you're feeling about that. How do you feel about Cooper not feeling on, spying on his wife and going to this meeting behind her back? Kind of trying to find out more about the company. How are you feeling about all that? All right, and yeah, I mean that's going to be the episode. So please make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, leave comments on your thoughts about this episode, and yeah, podcast listeners, hit subscribe, hit follow, leave a 5-star rating and a written review because that all helps the show grow. And thanks for listening to the special Fallout series show, where we know what makes you special, and it is listening to the special Fallout series show.